on your own, right? This call is now being recorded. Okay, good evening everyone once again. Welcome to today's class. So we're gonna start by doing a major recap of what we did in our previous classes. And I hope that you're going deeper. And that I mean that you're going beyond what we covered in our in my progressive lecture notes, right? I know that with time I'm going to begin to update this lecture notes. Things are going to be updated going forward. So you need to read deeper than before because there may be a lot of other changes that may be coming on. So let's look again at the approach to the course and the depth that you're supposed to go to, and then the overview of these components, right? I feel this overview would have been the first, but no problem still. Then we have looked at models of BGS relationship as covered in these two chapters. Okay. So what we're doing tonight, run through them. The recording just starting now. Okay, taking notes. Because what we're going to do tonight is just to look at them very well. So they said the approach to the course here is how you should approach this course. You should approach it um from different angles. You should approach it from its major characteristics, which are one, the interdisciplinary nature of the field. It's a field in itself. Two, the global perspective. Okay, looking at things from a not just from a local perspective, but from a global, from a historical perspective. So that's hear me. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What was the last thing you heard, please?
Sir,
What?
global perspective.
Okay, because someone was trying to call me, and then it's my phone I'm using for my Wi-Fi on my laptop. So when it happens like that, it affects my network. So I want you to pay keen attention today, but there may be a whole lot of depth that you have to go through. So we're talking about the three different approaches: the interdisciplinary nature, the global perspective, and the historical perspective. These are major approaches. These are the way you want to approach the field as a whole. Okay. So I said when doing this, you have to see your own business as distinct from the entire business world. So the interdisciplinary perspective, these three perspectives or these three approaches are explained in this first place, right? Very, very short articles that were written here. The interdisciplinary perspective is just to make you understand that when we talk about BG and S, we're talking about a whole lot of interests or interconnections, okay, which definitely come from different areas of study. Okay, different areas of study. That's what it simply means. And what are the reasons behind it? Why is it so? Okay, different areas of study which you can group into um social sciences, physical and natural sciences. Physical and natural sciences. What else again? Yeah, let's go back there on this part and see what we can find. I mean, just restructure this to capture that again later on. But let's go on. So I just broke it down into disciplines. Professional disciplines. Okay, what's a professional disciplines? You know what that means? Medicine, law, theology, social sciences, okay, natural sciences, Natural sciences has to do with physics, chemistry, biology, okay, I think geography, all those sciences share that speak to nature. While social sciences are those fields that speak to human behavior, okay, sociology, political science, economics, and so on and so forth. And then management sciences. And in that material, we were also told that management sciences is like more predominant. And that's because management sciences are supposed to combine all the other sciences to be and to apply what they are saying in what in your business, in your own business that you're running. Because there are a few reasons, like I said here, why is it so? The reasons are you're looking at the society, all those disciplines are in the society. Their contribution in society matter a lot. Their content, what business trades on. If you are trading as a business or you are producing as a business, what you are producing or what you are selling comes from one of these three. The product or the service you are selling comes from one of those three. So okay, and we said those products affect society also, and then we said is interested. The government is interested in these disciplines as much as you are. Okay, so that's the perspective. How I want you to understand that perspective. So I've explained all of these things, right? So we said strategic management dominates the field, and why? I said it already. So let's not do that. So and then we said here that the second approach you should know that it's a global affair. Okay, it's a global affair because right now the world is now a global village, like they say. Okay, and there are a lot of things that you need to understand that has happened. This has brought some advantages and also come with its own disadvantages. Okay, these are not listed here, but when you check the notes, you find out that those things have been listed. Okay, so when we say the global perspective, we're looking at the fact that the field of BGS cuts across nations. It's a global matter. I said this means that what the issues that affect the outcome of your individual business, those issues are not limited to what happens in your own country alone. They include what happens on global scale. Okay, yeah. So they're not limited to national borders. Okay, as our experiences I've seen so far, considering these eras of wars, COVID, name them, things that are happening, elections, American elections, elections in other countries, regime change in other countries, and so on and so forth. And that gave birth to what's called global capitalism. And the reason why capitalism is dominant there is because there is no central government. If there was a central government, probably the government would have behaved maybe like the communist government in China or the socialist government once upon a time in Russia. Also, we don't know which one will be predominant. So, because at that scale, there's no central government, it means anywhere you find yourself, you play by the rules that exist there. That's what business. So, when a business comes to Nigeria, they play by the rules that apply in Nigeria. If the same business goes to China, they play by the rules that apply in China, right? Yes. So that's why it's capitalism. So anybody is free to carry out any business that he wants to at any point in time based on the rule based on the modus operandi, the mode of operation. And we said it has its benefits. Go and read that up. And then it came also with some challenges. Okay, good. And thirdly, we said in this place that the third perspective is the historical perspective. Okay, we said the study of a phenomenon through time, over time. It's not just past tense. Okay, history is not what happened in the 1960s. Oh, the good old days. I give example of the good old days, right? Good. So that's not what we're referring to when we say history. Okay, I want to say history. We're talking about how things keep happening. How they started from ancient times to what we have today, to where we are heading to. And the major catch there is that where we are today is shaped by the things that have happened in the past, our decisions, our actions, either directly or the actions taken by our parents or, you know, past leaders of different generations, and the ones who keep telling us that youth are tomorrow's leaders, and they don't want to step down. But the tomorrow's leaders, they will start to do something, stuff like that. Okay, so that's the point here, and and our actions today are going to shape what's coming on ahead of us. So these are perspectives you should have of this course, and these are actually reasons why a manager should pay attention to the field. Okay, so we say here that there's some few things you will find there is that the what we have today is not like the way it is now is not the way it is many years back. That is what this first point means. Okay, the way it is today is not the way it is in 1960 or in the early 60s or 70s. Okay, as a matter of fact, the way I mean, that's to tell you that the way we are doing things now it's not the only way to do it. There are many ways that it could be done. Okay, and then those historical forces cannot be controlled. We just move on with time. And we said businesses cause change, and businesses also adapt to changes that are not caused by them or those that they even caused as well. Okay, and that change is there, so it's not just unique to our era. Every era has experienced rapid change, and we said our activities today are what shaping the future. And on top of that, I gave you an overview of how we intend to move. So that's the structure I want you to have of this course. Okay, so let's look at and then I told you that the other approach is the approach of case studies. Another way you're going to learn this course is that you're going to have case studies. So I said study the ExxonMobil case. I don't know how many of you have studied it. So you study this ExxonMobil case, see different situations, see different scenarios, see the interdisciplinary perspective playing out, see the global perspective playing out very, very well. Okay, and then see the historical perspective playing out very well as well. Okay, yeah. So but before we did this, we had to put you through a series of definition of terms, okay, which I felt would have been the first thing here. So we look at the concepts and also discuss why the field is important. Okay, so we defined business, we defined um we started with defining what the society is, and then what business is and what the government is. We saw business and government as institutions of the society, right? So business is an institution of the society, and government is also an institution of the society. Okay, business is an institution or a system of the society that the society uses to convert its raw materials, its resources into one satisfying goods. And it also increases the resources by making profit. So when profit is made, there is more resource, more money to harness more resources. And so government is that as institution of society that the society used to facilitate smooth operations, maintain law and order, and provide justice. Okay, as the case may be. Okay, but now all of these things are found in the societies. The ideas which are hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we
Yes, sir.
can hear you, sir.
All right. Same thing happened again. So let's say the resources, okay? The resources, these are the three things that make up a society. So when you are defining society in any context, you have to define it in the light of these three things. Okay. Okay. So when we say institutions, that's why we have systems like business, government, religious systems, educational systems, security systems. Okay, all those that define their relationships. Okay, fine. But idea is have to do with the very thought pattern that bind people together. Could be embedded in their culture, in the culture, particularly culture and traditions, right? How do they dress? How do they, what's their eating pattern? What's the style of building their houses? How do they think? What are the things they consider to be right or correct or wrong or bad? Or what are the things they consider should be the ways things should be done? And they're broken down into three, right? The values and their norms. What are their normals? And then the ideologies, the ways, okay, they see things. I've talked about institutions already, so you can still read them up from the notes, okay? And then you should do a lot of deep reading on these institutions because the author here is trying to take you through how different institutions have evolved or how different institutions operate from one country to another, Russia, and so on and so forth. And also, you need to mind names of authors like this. Peter Drucker is one name that you should be familiar with. Okay, Peter Drucker is one of those who came up in management, the management school of thought. Okay, management training. You see what he's saying. What he's saying here is business management must always, in every decision and action, put economic performance first. Okay, so without profit, business fails in its duty to society and it lacks legitimacy. If there's no profit, there's no point having business. That's what Peter Drucker said. Yeah, so you should be familiar with all of these things. Okay, read all these ones in depth. Okay, the material things are straightforward. All right. Yes, you need to look at this. You need to look at this. Different institutions. So this is more like an extension. I think I will incorporate all this particular one. Different institutions and how they interact with business. The market here, we're looking at business as a whole. That's what we mean by the market, not your individual business. Okay. And we look at the judicial institutions, financial institutions, corporations, the media, the cultural institutions, political institutions, and the regulatory institutions, as the case may be. And in front of this box, there is a narrative as to what these institutions do. For instance, the judicial institution is meant to protect property rights and also encourage investment by making dispute resolution predictable. Once anybody looks at the facts of the case, they know exactly what should be the outcome of the judgment, considering what the law of the land already. I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
We can hear
Okay,
you,
yes.
sir.
So
Yes.
We can hear
the
you,
me-
sir.
the media see what they do here. They inform the public, okay, and they stimulate commerce with what advertising and also information management and information mismanagement, as the case may be, right? Okay, the corporations as businesses now, your individual businesses now. What do you do to the market? They combine capital and labor, and also they encourage risk by limiting liability and stuff like that. Okay, so read this also because you'll start finding all of these things coming out in your exams, unlike before. Okay, as a matter of fact, one advice I want to give you now is this: when it comes to your examination, from now onward, you have to do more in-depth study. As a matter of fact, the questions you see in the previous years may not repeat themselves again for this set in particular, and probably for the next two or three or four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 sets. Okay, good. So read all of this as well. Why is the field of BGS important to managers. I gave a few reasons, some of which include those three approaches, those three things that we have there. And then just read this in details. Maybe I'll still read this thing again to find out if I could, the points that are here, if I could list them in bullet points. Bullet points usually help you to see understand something at a go. But majority of the points in these materials are hidden inside all of these places. So you have to be the one to bring them out in bullet points. Okay. All right. Read all of these in details. Okay. All right. So that's that for that. And then we jumped off into the models of BGS relationship. And in those models, we looked at the four models. Model number one, market capitalism model. Model number two, the dominance model. Model number three, the countervailing forces model. Model number four, the stakeholders model. So you need to know all of these things. Now, one thing I observed again, going through this material again, is that a whole lot of explanations are done around capitalism here. So I want you to study that. I've only explained what that model does for you, but you need to study deep as to how it came about, how Adam Smith calls it before. Adam Smith used to call it the commercial society. You can see it here. Adam Smith called it the commercial society. It's Karl Marx that called it capitalism in a bit to mock it. But you need to be familiar with all of these. Okay, academics is one funny thing where the names of people who did certain things matter. Meanwhile, they don't add any value to your knowledge, but they matter in the process of learning, though. So, Adam Smith and the era, Karl Marx, you see Karl Marx also, and then the roles that these two people play. Karl Marx is the one that is antagonistic to capitalism. Adam Smith was the one who promoted capitalism, but even both of them had findings later on, as you will find here once you have read. So read all of these things out one by one, and get to understand more of how capitalism came to be and the advantages of capitalism and disadvantages of the same. Okay, and then how Karl Marx criticized it and how we got to where we are right now. Okay, bearing in mind the understanding you already had from the lecture notes. So we talked about the dominance model, and we explained to you, okay, again, what it's like. Okay, so how it evolved. When you read this particular place, you understand how the matter has moved from capitalism. Can you hear me? How the issues moved from capitalism into
Yes,
into
sir.
thank you, into dominance. Okay, and how things also evolved from dominance into countervailing forces, where we have, apart from the government and business, we now have the public catalyst and environmental catalyst. Okay, so this discussion is in the next should I say chapter now or module. So talking about countervailing forces, we have four different forces now. Okay, yes, four different forces, countervailing forces. Okay, yeah, yeah, they call them multiple forces, not just business and government. So you must know all of these. Okay, we have I've already said them out, right? We have the force of government, the force of business, then those who look after the public, who believe the public should be protected in one way or another, and then those who look at the environment, and finally the stakeholder model. Wow, we've used almost our first 27 or 30 minutes now to discuss the previous stuff because I just want you to have an in-depth study, okay? So study that very, very well. Okay. So today, I'm going to introduce you to corporate governance. I'm going to introduce you to corporate governance. Okay. So, but before then, I would like to hear your thoughts. What do you think about it? Okay. What do you think about this term, corporate governance? Corporate governance. What's corporate governance? What's governance? What's corporate? What's corporate? What's corporation? What are the related words? Okay. Yeah. So that's what I just want you to look at. So question, answer. I'm giving you a question now. So let's look out for what you guys will say about what any of these things is or are, the case may be. All right, who's going to shoot first?
Oh, yes, sir.
Go on, please.
Sir?
Yeah, I said go on, please. I was asking what is corporate governance or what is governance, and then what is corporate. Okay,
Sir,
a minute, please.
hello,
But go
sir.
on anyway. Go on anyway. I can hear you.
As a corporate can be defined or means to work together or to be helpful and willingness to assist each other, while governance is the act of ruling or maintaining, controlling a particular state or country, while the word corporate governance can be defined as a system by which companies are directed and controlled, the act of maintenance.
Hello, can you hear me? You want to read what's in my notes. If you cram it that way, you may not understand what it is. So, okay, what is corporate? When you say something is corporate, what comes to mind? Corporate and the word corporation. Corporation. You've seen it in you've seen it in diagrams, right? Look at it here. Look at it in the middle here. Corporation. What does that mean?
Corporate
What is corporation? What's the meaning of the word
network.
corporation?
The network is poor, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Sir, we are hearing you, but the network is fluctuating.
No problem. Let's just manage it and finish off, okay? When we say corporation, what is what does it represent? What does it mean? I need answers, please. Everywhere, everyone.
Corporation.
Corporation simply means putting something together jointly.
Mm. Oh, you mean the other cooperation, cooperation, C-O, are you getting me now? That's a different one. Cooperation. Okay,
Mm.
that's what you're referring to. Let's cooperate. That's what you're talking about. That's a different, although they are similar in that sense, but that's a different word from this word. Corporation simply is another word for saying company. It actually means doing something together, do, but that thing you're coming to do together is a business. It's a what? It's a business. It just has to be a business. It's not anything other than a business. So when you say company, another word for company is what? Corporation.
Corporate,
Corporation.
You get it now. Another word for company. So when you say, excuse me, please.
corporation,
Good. So when you say
Partnership.
company, so when you say company, a company, maybe any business at all that particularly has grown to the level of a company
You don't mind your
called
business.
a corporation. Okay. Now,
Mm.
other businesses like partnership and small scale businesses may not be called corporation in some sense, But in this course of BGS, all forms of businesses, as far as they stand on their own and they operate as businesses, we can call them corporation. So what this simply means, you can even clean this word there and put business, my business. It stands. What this image is even telling us is that your business is reacting to stockholders. Stockholders are your shareholders. Stock means shares. Okay. Stockholders are the shareholders, customers on the other hand, employees, okay, the communities, the government. We have other people that the business is affecting is attending to, the poor, the educational influence, the media, the corporation. That's what stakeholder model is talking about. Okay, so you need to read that stakeholder model in details also to see how stakeholders are supposed to be treated. I think you'll meet it again ahead. Okay, but now we're talking about corporate governance, and we said corporation is what another word for corporation, not cooperation, okay, not cooperation.
Corporation.
Okay, so there's a difference between cooperation and corporation. Good. So corporation are referring to business or companies.
Corporation. Okay.
Okay, business or companies. Any company is a corporation. So here you must have heard the word public corporation. A public corporation. There we're looking at companies that are owned by government. Okay. But when it's actually a private corporation, then they can now call it company because these ones are owned by people. And when that word company also means people coming together to do a business. That's what it simply means. So corporate governance is the governance of corporations. You get it now? The governance of corporations. Why is it so? Because it's not a one-man business. There are many factors or forces involved. But now the second word now is governance. What is governance? Now you're getting it. What is governance?
Governance.
To control.
Yeah, that's a good one. Control, lead, manage, something like that, right?
Management.
Exactly. So to lead,
Management.
especially when you have a group of people. And in this sense, it means we have a group of people. We have in a corporation, whether a private corporation or not. When you read this part, you will see what I discussed about corporations. Okay. In a corporation, you will see that there are different parties. We have shareholders. Okay. We have shareholders that are different people. We have the directors. Okay, look at it. We have the shareholders, promoters and shareholders are one category. The promoters are shareholders also, but these are the first shareholders, the major people that started the business. They're the ones we call promoters. So we have the first class of people you meet in the business is what? Shareholders. The second group of people you meet are the what? BOD, BOD, board of directors or the directors. The third group of people you will meet in a business in a big business are what? The managers. Okay. Then the fourth class should be the employees. So you see now, a corporation actually should have at least three, four major people inside of it: the shareholders, the directors, the managers, and the regular employees. Are you with me? Good. And the regular
Yes, sir.
Yes,
and the
sir.
regular employees. So what does this tell you? What does this tell you? It tells you that there's a possibility of their roles and expectations clashing. Okay, their roles, their duties, their expectations may clash. The board of directors and the management and even the shareholders may even have what they call conflict of interests. They might have different interests. The shareholders might want something else, and the board of directors might also be thinking something else, different from what the management is thinking. But how do these things come across, and how should they interrelate, interact to make sure that there's no commotion, the company is well governed? Are you getting it now? So you can now picture a country like Nigeria, where we have the executive arm of government, the legislative arm of government, and then we have the judiciary, which in a normal sense, they should all work at almost the same level. Okay, they should all work at almost the same level, and by the documentations that have been, is what will now help them work together. In that this arm of government will understand its own limits, and the other arm should understand its own limits, its powers, its duties, and its limit. The same thing you have in a corporate, in a corporation, in a corporate organization, or in a corporate body. Okay, whereby whereby everybody knows his own his boundaries, right? So that control, that relationship, that relating issue there is what they call corporate governance. That's why we say corporate governance is the regulatory mechanism, right, which governs number one, their roles, number two, the powers, number three, their duties, number four, the relationships, right? So it governs these four things among a company's what are the people? Shareholders, board of directors, management, employees as well, and other
Yeah.
stakeholders towards the achievement of a company's objectives. I believe it's straightforward and you're going to get it. Once you think like this, you're going to get it. As a matter of fact, you've already gotten it. Any question about this?
Mm. Cool.
All right, let's take questions here if you have any.
All
And
right.
then,
So I have a question here.
yeah, go on, please.
Yes, sir. You said a corporation should it will have at least like you mentioned of 4 layers, not necessarily the three, but we have the shareholders, the directors, the managers,
And the employees,
employees.
the other
Okay,
employees,
these are
yes.
three. Yes.
Mm.
Can we have something that can make it 4?
Employees now, employees, I added employees just now.
Okay.
Oh, you
But
can-
Shareholders,
Sir,
directors, manager. Okay. Yes. I get
yes,
it. Thank you.
shareholders, directors, managers. So let's look at a company like maybe one of these are banks. I like using banks for my illustrations. I don't know why. Maybe because they are common. Okay, once upon a time, Tony Elumelu was not on the board of directors of UBA. I think currently he's never on the board of directors of UBA. I know Jim Ovia is not on the board of directors of Zenith Bank, despite that he's a promoter, he's a major promoter of Zenith Bank. I don't say promoter. Promoter is the founding shareholders, the first people that they are the major shareholders, the ones that started the company before inviting other people to come and buy shares. Okay, those are promoters. So they are all groups under shareholders. That means when you check the documents of Zenith Bank today, you will see a CEO or the board of directors, and you may not even find Jim Ovia on that body. They are two different class. You may even have shares of Zenith Bank, but you're not on that board, and you're not even the one managing the company. As a matter of fact, even if you go to the Zenith Bank branch and be a major shareholder, they may not even know that you have shares in Zenith Bank. You know what I'm saying, right? But your interests and your desires have to be, you know, protected and carried along. So that's how we got here. This is serious matter actually. It's a serious matter because let's look at why it's a serious matter. That's when we talk about the history. How did it get to this point? Definitely there will be clashes. Like I said, there will be clashes. You wake up one day, you feel like, oh, I have some money. Let's start a bank. You start a bank. As the bank start going, you say, okay, we need more money. Let's invite other people to come and invest. Now you start having other shareholders. Oh, we're growing. Let's separate these things so that we'll have directors separate from the shareholders, and then the management. There will not be interest. This one will not start wanting its own package different from another package, just like that. And if it was come to the worst, the managers will start using the money for their own personal gain. That's what they call agency risk. You know what agency risk means? Agency risk means the person that you sent to do the work is now doing the work for himself instead of for you. That's for agency risk. Don't write it like this, so just understand it anyway. Okay. So that's why we say corporate governance has been a tool to mitigate agency risk. The risk whereby the manager is actually an agent of the shareholders. The board of directors stands in between the managers and the shareholders. So the management should not act in their own interest. The agent is not supposed to act in his own interest, but in the best interest of the principal, who's the manager in this case. We will do a topic called agency under law. So you reflect back to this thing I said now. Okay. So that's how it is. Okay. So we said here, shareholders own the resources. First line. Second line,
Direct and
directors and managers control those resources. So a good corporate governance would mean that these resources are controlled in the best interest of the shareholders.
shareholders.
So that's how it is. So before you invest in any company, you want to know, okay, what's their corporate governance like? Let me know that my money will be secured, or the manager will use it to go and buy Rolls Royce, something like that for himself. Fine. So we said here the subject of corporate governance gained attention after a large scam was exposed. Okay, that's when they said, let's come. This is a serious matter. So for issues of integrity, let's have it. Bonus culture. How do we also make sure that these managers are happy? We give them all the best. Okay, we give them, don't just muscle the ox that grind the what now. As the cow is grinding for you, the cow is also eating there. That's what the bonus culture is. Okay, what should be the framework of regulation, and how should the directors be trained to be able to ensure that all of these things are being carried out? So there's a whole lot that you will study on this topic. As a matter of fact, you have 1 full week to do that. So go back to your book and study corporate governance. Let's see what we can have from here. Go back to your material and study corporate governance. Study it in depth. Okay, good. So look at what we're supposed to study, what it is, the theoretical basis for it, the models, the ideologies. In our last class, I was telling you what a model is. I said a model should either describe a situation or prescribe what it should be like. Some models can also interpret or also explain, but generally it brings out concepts and tells you how those concepts relate with one another. And then they gave you um a case study here, one company they call HCL Technologies. Just to really give you ExxonMobil at the beginning. Then they also gave you a particular standard of corporate governance that had been in the world by a group they call Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. And then they gave you the priorities that you can find in the guidelines that OECD brings up. And then they told you what the obligations are. You're going to read up these things in details, in serious details. Okay. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So yeah. So I've explained all of that. I've also told you about the historical importance. Okay. And see the issues. The issues that are coming up in corporate governance are many. Okay. How do you separate the board of directors from the managers? Okay. When we say board composition, who are the people that should be in the board? And how many people should we even have in this board? Say, okay, by the time you start doing a deep research, you find out that the board size, something called board size, the number of people they have in their board, and what are their caliber of persons. Okay, the separation of roles. Okay, appointments. Who should be appointed as a member of the board or as a manager? The remunerations. How should they be paid? How should all the people be paid so that everybody will be satisfied? Okay, and then audits. How should audits be carried out? And then these are the ones I pointed out to you there. Issue of integrity, bonus culture, and so on and so forth. The need and importance. Okay. You just look at this anyway. You study them by yourself. So I don't want children. You can read now. I shouldn't be coming here to read for you. You can read. So you can see all of these. where the world is now, there are many things that the investors want to see in place before they can now start talking about whether they should invest in your company or not. The benefits of corporate governance, you read all of these also. Okay. Now, this is the corporate governance framework. You saw it here. And here, at the center of it, what do you have? Communication. Okay. But around, it's every other thing surround communication. Transparency, disclosure and transparency, risk management and performance monitoring, board of directors and communities, legal and regulatory aspects, business practice and ethics. They are all centered around communication. So you should know that. So read up the benefits of corporate governance. Okay. And it overflows into here. Read it up. Now let's look at the basis, the theoretical basis. Okay, there are 4 of them given. There's only 4 of them here. Agency theory, or let's say the agency theory basis. Then the stewardship theory basis of corporate governance. Then the stakeholder theory basis of corporate governance. And then the sociological theory basis of corporate governance. I've already explained to you the basis of the agency theory, right? I said, okay, but before then, in my notes, I told you what the theory is, right? Theory is a system of ideas and principles upon which the practice of any activity is based. Okay, it's used to explain relationship between variables involved, and also justify causes of action. So we said, when we say agency, we mean 2 people are involved. One is the principal, which we call Oga in Nigeria, right? Then the other one is the agent. So the agent can be acting on behalf of the Oga or the principal when it has to do with third parties. So third parties could be maybe the customer, the client, just the way your landlord now, for instance, might be working through an agent, and then the tenant is there. The tenant is the third party. That's just a simple example. So what does the agency theory say? The agency theory says it is possible that this agent is acting in his own interest too, and not in the interest of the principal. When he's doing your job, he's acting in his own interest. That's what it means. So that's the first basis. And because of this, let's have something that can check it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So stewardship theory is almost like agency theory, but there's a difference. Stewardship theory goes on to tell us what the steward, in this case now, an agent, should do. How agents are supposed to act, how the representatives are supposed to act beyond, they should act completely in the best interest of the principals. To the extent that to which the principal may not even know about, but is beneficial. Okay. And then the stakeholder theory says there should be corporate governance because it's not just the interest of the shareholders that should be protected. Interests should be protected. Sociological theory states that the society as a whole should matter when decisions are taken in companies. It's 9:30 already, and the time where I want us to close. But let me really quickly talk about all of these other ones. The models, we did models in our last class, and I also wanted to study models, okay? So I want to study all of these as well. Maybe, yeah, study models, okay? The outsider model, the insider model, the myopic market model, and then the stakeholder model. Okay. Yeah, the myopic market model is a prescriptive model. It's one of my favorite models here. Okay.
Yes,
Anyway, the
oh, yeah,
outsider model,
great.
outsider, and then the insider model. Okay. These are things that you should consider and understand.
Yes.
Okay. Remember that corporate governance is talking about the relationship between shareholders and management. Okay, and in between them is what
Yeah, that's
directors,
okay. Just before.
right? That's between them and directors, right? Good. So yeah, sorry, I was a little bit distracted. So when we say outsider model, it tells you about a particular kind of shareholders and how they want to see a business. What is their interest? How they see their interest in the business, so that we know how to deal with them. The insider model too also tells you about another kind of shareholders and how they see their interest in the business. Okay, I said here that in the outsider model, the shareholder is truly an outsider. If the business is not going to do him well, he will remove his money and put somewhere else. He doesn't just the business should just do well. Anyhow they want to do it, they should do it. Okay, that's basically what I mean here. He's seen as an ordinary investor who can move
Mm.
his investor to any company they feel that will benefit them the most. So in this kind of case, the management should take them seriously also. But the insider model is different. The insider model are looking of shareholders like the likes of Tony Elumelu, Dangote, where they have an invested interest in the business. They want to see this business grow. As a matter of fact, the business is almost like their dream. So they want to see the business fulfill its own dream. Okay. So they get involved, they participate. Once upon a time, Tony Elumelu was a CEO in UBA. Another time he occupied the board of directors, just like that. And that's come to a point where he doesn't even need to be there again. So this first two talks about two different perspectives of shareholders. Okay. Then the myopic market model is only a model that complains. It describes and prescribes. It complains that these current practices are usually short term, short term, short term. But that's not how it should be. It should be long term, long term, long term. That's in short how I would put it. But let's look at them here pretty much. We said in the outsider model, the owners the owners don't have any serious interest, like interest, right? So and there's no close relationship between them and management because of that. And because of that, it's possible for the takeovers. Now, when I say takeover, some people just come and buy your shares, and when they have the excess highest share in your company, then the company has changed hands. That's what it means. Okay, and then we say um the shareholders have a right over all the other ones. Any other person in the group, shareholders are the ones that you treat with utmost importance because of their perspective. But in the insider model, just ignore this term, stakeholder model. The reason why I'm asking you to ignore these stakeholders here is because there's another model called stakeholders, and it's different from that other one. Okay, good. So don't confuse yourself by saying stakeholder model, stakeholder model. That's not what we're dealing with. We only have outsider model and insider model. Both of them are talking about shareholders, two different types of shareholders. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so in this one, we said this kind of shareholders are the owners. They have an enduring interest in the firm. So there's a strong relationship between them and the management. Sometimes you could find them as if they are holding positions in the board of directors or other senior managerial positions because of that interest. Okay, and we said there's the possibility of another company coming to take over the business is very slim. So what do? They have the formal rights, okay, of other who is that Nasir? right. I want to believe that that noise has been dealt with. Okay, so I've explained what this model is to you, but I still want you to study it in details. Study what it's saying and know what it's not saying. Okay.
Yes,
It gave an example of the Anglo-American model. How that Anglo-American model is just focused on short-term returns, short-term corporate profits, short-term management performance, short-term stock market performance. That is the Anglo-American model. But the Olympic model is criticizing the Anglo-American model. Okay, I don't say Anglo-American, talk about the English American model. Okay, now what is this saying? It's arguing that what they do encourage management to focus on short-term performance without considering the long-term value of the firm. Okay, good. So that's how it works. And then that because of this, where management spends money on, it's obvious. Like if management spends on research and development, we know that management is looking at the long-term benefit for the organization. But if management just spends on dividend, for example, that will increase the stock price in the short run, stuff like that. Okay. So those people who support the model, they believe that short-term ideology is what causes capital failure. So you can read all of those things again and read again and read again and read on your own. I think I'm going to stop here. You also read stakeholder model, and that should be it. Finally, read about this HCL technologies. If I have time in my next class, we'll continue from there.
sir.
If I don't have time, you will just read it up by yourself. Okay, up to the end of corporate governance. There's a whole lot to consider here. Okay, and I want you to pay attention to all of these. Let me just give you hints. These are the things, all these small things you are seeing down here are the things that you
Sir,
see in your exams. Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's see
network,
questions. Go on, please.
sir. Network. The network is poor.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, but I hope
Okay,
you
sir.
can hear me. So what we'll do in our next class,
Yes, sir.
I'll update. The previous class recording has been ready since, but I've been too busy to upload. But I will upload it, its link. This one, once it's ready, also I'll upload it and update the link as well.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
but I want
Thank
you
you,
to
sir.
study. I want you to study on your own. Study in details on your own and see what you can come
Yes,
out.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, guys.
So by the
I
time
want
you
to believe you
upload,
don't have any question.
yes, sir. By the time you upload those previous
Yeah, you'll
lectures,
find somebody wants to ask a question. Blessing Kadiri. Blessing Kadiri has a question.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much.
You know
Yes,
that you're
I the question. So when you were talking about the insider model, you mentioned that the stakeholders can hold other important position like in the company. Like they can also like be stakeholders and be member of the board of directors. Is that like settled? And then if yes, what then qualifies them? Like is it because does it have to do with how much they invest, like how much resources they bring in, like what qualifies them to now become like a member of the board of directors?
okay. Okay, good. So I believe I heard you in details. I have to pay close attention because of how you were sounding. Maybe you were low, your voice was low, but look at it this way. Um, I've mentioned three names in this class. I've mentioned Dangote, Aliko Dangote. I've mentioned Tony Elumelu. I've mentioned Jim Ovia. Okay,
Jimobia.
this Jim Ovia is the one who founded Zenith
Zenith
Bank.
Bank.
Okay,
Zenith Bank.
Yeah, Tony
Yes.
Elumelu was the one who founded Standard Trust Bank.
Okay.
And Standard Trust Bank now grew and bought UBA Bank. And because UBA had a bigger name, they now
Yes,
retained the
sir.
name UBA instead of Standard. You get it right? Aliko Dangote, everybody knows him, is the one who started. Now, this kind of shareholders, from the beginning, they don't want to hear anything bad happen to this organization. These are insider shareholders. Now, I want you to ignore this term stakeholders. We understand quite well that they have a strong stake in the business. But ignore the term here because of the other model that is also called stakeholder model. That's just the reason, not because of that. So that I don't mistake which stakeholder model we're talking about from the other stakeholder model. Okay, good. So this interest alone, but majorly I would say that this kind of shareholders are usually those at the promoter level. Promoter in the sense that they are those who like conceive the idea of this business and they want to see it grow. That's the only thing I can say that can warrant them to have, and not necessarily because of their money, but in the long run, they usually have the lion's share, right? For like in Dangote, for instance, I heard all the shareholder shares amount to 15% of the entire business. You see that now? So even from the beginning, as you're putting the business, you're saying, no, your share is just 15%. So that there's no point in time where anybody will come and knock him off and say, now you have 55% or 51%. Let's make decisions. No. So I hope I've answered the questions. But these other ones here, and just those people that just say, hey, come and invest. These ones, they look at the stock market news. They want to see which firm is performing well. So that they'll just remove your money from UBA to access, from access to this, from this, or leave the banking sector. They don't even know how the business came about, something like that, for example. So these are just practical examples of these two cases. Yeah. Any question?
Outsiders.
Do you understand what I mean, right?
Mm.
Yeah, the person that asked the question, okay, thank you so much. All right. So,
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
I can hear. Where is this sound coming from?
Yes,
Please mute your mic, please.
I can hear someone trying to speak. Okay, go on.
yes, sir. I should go on, right?
Yes, go on. I'm just trying to look for that person. So I
Yeah, I
can hear.
think you should just mute the person
Who
from
is
your
that?
end.
I'm trying to look for the person's name. I can't find. Maybe I'm using.
Kamorudin, Kamorudin.
Give me one moment. Just excuse me from the call. Why I love Google Meet actually? Just hold on, please.
What do you to tell yourself? 105 for my
Oga Kamoru. Who is that? That's you, right? Yeah, back to my laptop. My
Mute
laptop did
the
good job for
person.
me. I was looking at it from my phone, so it was causing a distraction. All right.
Hello, sir.
Go on,
Yes.
please.
Yes, sir. Please, if I thank you very much for the wonderful lecture this night. I will beg that you help us upload the previous lecture, especially some of us who have, missed the first and other lectures. It will help.
The
Please,
first lecture is there already.
Okay. All right.
It's just the last one that I've not uploaded, but I'll do that. Don't worry, I promise you.
Oh, that's good. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you so much. Will that be all? I think I can stop the recording now, right? So that it can commence saving. All right, guys. You have to study in depth. I'm saying this again because I don't know what the institution wants to do, but it's a man. We have to go depth to dig out questions for your examinations. Okay, good. So that at least you will still get your A's as usual. Like I told you, this is an A course if you will do well. Okay, good. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice
Thank you,
time
sir.
studying. You have one full week to study this up to this point. I did this evening's class, I did a recap from the beginning, okay, to this point. So I want to study to this point, but don't limit yourself there. See, finish off the chapter on corporate governance. Just see how it's interplaying. Read between the lines, bring out points and list them up as much as you can. Okay. Yeah. That'll be all from my end. Have a lovely night. I'll also start giving you quizzes. I'm trying to see if you can put the quiz
Tafi da shi ban da ra'ayi. Ki tafi da shi.
Okay, so I think I was actually very busy putting up your exam questions. Otherwise, I would have set up your first quiz. I want to see how I can split the quiz. After module 1, you take a quiz, 5 marks. After module 2, you take another quiz, 5 marks. And after module 3, you take another quiz, 5 marks. I think that would have been very, very great if it can work that way to make sure that you have a progressive learning. And then, but it may not work that way. So it may just be that after the end, you just take one major quiz, 15 marks. Okay, 15 marks, that should be around how many questions? Around 30 questions or thereabout. Okay. But all the same, I know you're good, so you feel you have good grades. Bye bye everyone. Have a lovely